Welcome back to another episode of Off Hours with Bourbon Lens. This is Jake, and I am joined by some of our good friends up in the Northeast. Well, one of the two of our good friends in the Northeast, Michael Paladini. You got to say it with your hand like you're an Italian and you're a Kentuckian. It's really bad. And for those who don't know, Michael's been on the show many times. He is the CEO and co-founder of Penelope Bourbon. So, Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, buddy. Good to be here, man. Thank you very much. So you said the name with a lot of might. I like that.
You know, I just try to bring the Zispa here. You know, it's what my coach in college said. He's like, you got to bring the Zispa every day. And I'm like, what the hell is Zispa? But he was like this 75-year-old man that was just out there, couldn't barely walk. He had to ice his knees more than the players. You knew he meant some real good words.
I love it. That's awesome.
So, we were just catching up beforehand, and it sounds like Penelope is off the charts right now. And you and Danny are running 1,000 miles a minute. But what I first want to talk about, as your brain is probably processing a million different things at the current moment, is, as you take a step back, as a dad, and having another kid through all this process and the growth, what's that meant to you to find time with your family, in these moments when Penelope as a brand is growing off the charts?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's tough, man. I mean, when we started Penelope, this was started when my wife was about 4 months pregnant. So, obviously between Danny and I and his wife and my wife, I mean, it's been about 4 years. Summer 2018 is when we actually kind of started the business. We didn't start selling it till spring of 2019, but just between the business and then 4 years later, there's 5 children in between the two families. It's bananas, man. So it's a little crazy, but one of the things I think you have to have the balance. I mean, it's just, you can't just go 24/7. I think the big thing for us is, weekends is off. We're checked out during the weekends.
Yeah.
And you need that. You gotta, there's stuff around the house you got to do. And that's a big thing, is the weekends are great. I mean, that's truly a recharge period. Now occasionally there's some events or tastings or things like that, but generally speaking, the weekends has been a big recharge, family time, things like that.
So in Jersey, what do we do for the weekend fun getaway? Is it just hang around the house and you got to do all the chores in the honey-do list, or do you all escape to go out to the beach, or what do we do on the weekends?
Yeah, but I mean, excuse me, I was just yawning. Oh my God. And it's not from you. Trust me. I'm I actually had a good example. A long weekend. We were up in Cape Cod this past weekend. So we drove up there. We only live, we're in New Jersey, so we live about 1.5 miles from the beach. So yeah, it's usually okay, you want to go down there? It could be a Sunday. A lot of times just hanging out, going to the park. Henry's 11 months and Penelope's 3.5. So, there's not a ton you could do. And he's at that stage where Henry's running around everywhere. So, we keep busy. It's always, there's always plenty to do with just two little ones running around.
So is Henry going to get his own limited release bourbon or rye whiskey or something?
Right now, no way. No, I'm kidding. No, it's just I don't know. It's crazy right now. It's just on the Penelope front, but I feel like I may have a couple years before, maybe more than that, maybe 10 years before he even realizes. So we've got a little runway there to figure something out where he's not just bitter.
Yeah. Boys aren't as perceptive as girls, are they?
No, I feel like Penelope already knows.
Exactly. Yeah. The sons, my son, it's squirrel every 5 seconds. It's oh, we're on to the Paw Patrol movie, and now we're coloring, and now we're wrestling, and now we're playing hide and seek. And it's oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. It's about how many activities you could put in front of them.
Yeah. And there's a ton. And, I try to avoid the cell phone, but sometimes it is needed just to be here, be quiet.
Yeah. Or just you want to look, Daddy's got to work. And you want a recess?
Oh yeah.
Mommy's not here, so she wouldn't give it to you. So either take the recess or you don't.
Yeah.
it.
So, I have a question because you've gone through the potty training thing, and I've not asked any guests this, but this is really interesting. So yesterday, my son, he likes just
How old is your son?
He's 2.5. He'll be 3.
Okay.
He's a little over 2.5, so almost 3. And potty training, right? It's really interesting. And he doesn't ever want to poop on the potty. He will go pee as many times as you want. And so yesterday, it was kind of like he was squatting down, and I could tell he was hiding. And he was like, I was like, I'll give you $5. And the $5 worked. He ran to the bathroom and went there, and he's like, deal. He wanted to,
for $5.
I mean, if I got paid for $5 a time I went to the bathroom, it'd be pretty good too. Do you have any potty training tricks that worked for Penelope? When you all were getting her through it?
Well, we waited a little bit longer. I mean, we waited till she was definitely about 3.
Yeah.
I think girls, I don't know. We haven't gone through it with a boy yet, but I remember Danny was saying with Cooper, because boys are standing.
Yeah.
So you can kind of stand and just fire away.
Aim and shoot is what we say.
But we waited till about 3, and then we kind of just hammered it real. And I think it was I don't know, it might have been winter break or something right around then where we had a week where she wasn't in school. We just hammered it. Every time she had to go, we just kind of take her to the bathroom. And
yeah,
I mean, she picked it up quickly. Once we did it, it took about 2-3 weeks. I mean, she's had some accidents, don't get me wrong, but I mean, just every literally 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Getting her to go. And then it's been really good ever since.
Yeah. I look forward to the day of not buying pull-ups.
Yeah.
I mean, inflation is a pain in the rear end everywhere else, but pull-ups, man, I tell you what, you're buying diapers right now. It's not cheap.
No, man, they're not. They're not fine. We're still on formula. Well, he's almost off of it, but that's real expensive.
Well, and I hear formula is like gold these days. It's impossible to find.
It's harder to find formula than it is a really good aged whiskey barrel.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, but he's based. I mean, he's almost a year, so it's at the tail end of it. So
yeah. So as we transition from the family stuff into just general life, a lot of people, if they've gone back and they've listened to our podcast, we've talked to you all multiple times, and you all have done countless other conversations, but you were a businessman before you got into whiskey. So what was that like transitioning as, a normal entrepreneur into, this highly regulated space, because bourbon and whiskey is very regulated. What was that like from a learning curve and, teaching yourself really kind of in those moments in between, how to be an entrepreneur in this whiskey industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been a big advantage for us. I think there's not I think, I'm not saying it's I don't know if it's necessarily an advantage or a disadvantage, right? I think it's just a different perspective. So coming into an industry with kind of no outside, there's Penelope here. Yeah, just running, just going crazy.
Love it.
But with no outside perspective, or kind of insight. I mean, I think there's times where you're like, I wish I knew kind of how to do it. But I think in the beginning, you just kind of transition. So, I don't think we were ever afraid to embark on something new. I think it was just, we were so passionate about it. We loved whiskey. So that was the fuel, for the fire, was that we really liked the space. We love the product. I mean, we love bourbon. We love all sorts of whiskeys. And, you kind of just got to jump into it full steam ahead. I think one of the things that we did do is we didn't, we kind of did everything ourselves.
Yeah.
From, we didn't even get an attorney in the beginning, just filling out forms. Okay, you need a basic wholesaler permit. All right, go to the TTB website and download it and fill it out and send it back in.
Yeah.
And then did that in our home state of New Jersey. And you kind of just, we handled the warehousing on our own. We got a small little 1,200 square foot warehouse to where our finished goods would end up, and then we'd move them from there. But there's a lot to digest, but honestly, it's a slow moving ship in the beginning because you're building out a supply chain. You're putting, getting labels and raw materials and dry goods and whiskey and all this stuff. You got to get that all together. So, I think the best thing for us was just doing it ourselves. And then you kind of have a much better idea of how to do it.
Yeah.
So think about this. You're better with directions
when
you write them down, and say you didn't have Google Maps where you could just stare at your phone and you know where to go. Your mind you'll remember directions better if you're not reliant on another party or another service. In my perspective, you are.
Well, I mean, I agree with that. Like for me, like if I like am cognitively paying attention when I'm driving, like in this direction, like, and not having any distractions, and I can go and I can go and I can go. And the next time I'm back in that same spot and I got to go and go wherever, like I'm going to remember that. A lot of the times if you had someone tell you what to do, the less likely you are that you're going to be able to repeat it or replicate it in a close enough fashion to get to wherever you need to get.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so it's, it's been good for us. I mean, just to roll up your sleeves and do it. I mean, heck, we in the beginning, we sold it from our car. We did for 9 months.
Yeah.
So you kind of, you just got to go.
Yeah. So, from a business challenge, perspective, and just like putting that hat on, like, what's the biggest thing that you've learned and the biggest thing that has kind of been like that aha moment?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, starting with the latter, I mean, it's always cool, like seeing your product on the shelf, somewhere not by where you live by. I mean, that's always pretty cool. That's always been like an aha moment.
Yeah.
I think just the people that we work with, the community, everyone, I mean, that's been amazing. It is really a great community. I mean, across just vendors, partners, customers, supply chain, wholesalers, you name it. We've had great partners and friends that we've met along the way, which has been amazing. But yeah, I mean, I think that's always been kind of that aha moment, like, wow, this is really cool. I actually refer to a lot. It's like Bourbon University, like you have your high school friends, and then maybe sometimes you're going to dinner, you're going with your college friends.
Yep.
And, you go to Nashville and like, oh, they're my, from BU. They're from Bourbon University friends. So there's like a whole new subset of friends now you have from kind of working in this space and getting to know people, which has been a lot of fun.
Well, and I think, for us, and I say that because I'm a peripheral to the industry, right? Like I'm a necessary evil, like me and other my podcasting friends in the market, and our writers and all the great people that cover it. It makes it easy. So when you come to a city, you may have talked to us or met us before, and like I know you're friends with John with Dad's Drinking Bourbon, or us. You can call somebody and say, hey, let's grab dinner or let's see each other. And so you never feel like you're truly alone when you go to some of these new cities that you all may be launching in, because people are already there that are passionate about your product. Yeah, no. And that's what's so much fun. I mean, like the feelings mutual. I mean, that's like, I'm sure next time we're in Kentucky, we'll give you a call and be like, hey, let's grab dinner at KBF or anything like that. Oh yeah. Yeah, last KBF, we ended up getting an Airbnb, and I think the dad stayed with us. Greg, a lot of people did, and it was just like fun. Like it was a great time. Yeah, and those are the things I look forward to, like, when we can just kind of let our hair down, even though neither of us have really long hair, but just kick back and like. That may be the time where we're not drinking bourbon. We're, cracking a beer, or, someone brings out that unicorn bottle that they're never going to open unless there's around people that they want to appreciate it with. Open it with. Yeah. And so those are the times I find, like, as the community perspective or that Bourbon University perspective. I'm going to steal that from you. Yeah. Good. That's good. That you can find like-minded people that you don't have to worry about talking about inflation or politics or whatever. You're talking about just life. And like, that's the good part about that. Yeah. Yeah. No, you're just talking about different releases, which one you liked. Yeah. Not particular to any brand, just different brands and what's happening, what you like. But it's really, that's the beauty of it. It's just kind of sharing, and a lot of times I'm not even talking about bourbon, just chatting about life in general and stuff like that, which is what makes it so much fun. Yeah. So kind of tying these two together, right? Like I feel like we'll talk to a lot of people. Yeah, we're an entrepreneur. We're doing this but you all are coming from completely outside of this industry into it. What's it like to be, an entrepreneur and really grind 14, 16 hours a day and have this family? What's the best advice for an entrepreneur? Cause you're a serial entrepreneur, you've done a variety of different things. What's your best advice for someone with a family and they're doing this entrepreneur thing and balancing that piece? I mean, that's really tricky. Yeah. I have to feel. No, it is. I mean, it's a very,
it's hard, because when you're building something, it's like another child. Like you're literally engulfed in it. I mean, and part of it too is even before you embark on it, it's like, hey, you got to really love what it is you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause if you don't, I mean, it's eventually you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
I think you always run the risk of burning out, but as long as you love it and you're passionate about the industry and what you're building and what you're making and the products, then I think that's the extra little fuel you need to keep the engine humming.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the family and the really that balancing act, I mean, I think it's about like, you got to have like, depending on, I mean, look, if you're single, awesome. But if you have like a family and children, I mean, you just have to figure out a healthy balance. I mean, that's key. Maybe it's like, there's going to be nights where you're working late. Doesn't necessarily have to be every night. No, get up earlier, maybe, help out when you can, like doing things in the morning, if that's easier. Having really good, communication with your partner and making sure, okay, who's doing what and when and where. Mm-hmm. Shared calendars work exceptionally well.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Really, really do. But even little things like trips, like when, trips are something you have to do. You have to go to different markets. And I mean, it's rare I'm ever in a market for more than like 36 hours.
Oh, I know. Trust me.
I am like in and out.
Yeah.
And that's only because like, you got to just get your stuff done and just go. Yeah. Right. So it's not that I wouldn't want to stay longer and hang out and I could probably get more accomplished, but this sometimes you just got to get what you need to do and then get home. That's really the bottom line.
Well, I think that's really important. Like setting work boundaries too. A lot of people are like, oh, I can set home life boundaries, right? Like I can, do this, put this into a box and I can stop work in. But like when you travel, like I do for work, I know you do for work, like you have to box that in too and set those boundaries so that you can be there. Cause like, even if you're not like necessarily hanging out, and like you said, there's Penelope running around in the background, like you're still there, you're accessible. And if she would run in here, I wouldn't care. Like that would make this podcast all the more better actually. But like, that's the family environment that you have to, I'm sure, embrace, because you're dealing with people in different markets around the country, different time zones. And that makes for a challenge and a logistical nightmare sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, and the other, it's funny. I mean, we're slowly, I mean, we're independent, so we've never raised outside capital. So we never had like an infusion of cash where we could just go and hire a lot of people to help offset some of that responsibility.
Yeah.
Slowly getting to that point. We've hired some great folks recently, but it's a slow and steady ramp up. It's not just something all of a sudden we're like, got some big team and lots of folks running around.
Yeah.
We have a great team and everyone works really hard. And, I think, again, I think that's part of it, man. You just set boundaries. I think it's also important keeping your significant other like involved.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie, my wife, she's involved. Like, hey, like helping like with a lot of the creative stuff. She loves creative design. Like we do a lot of events, booth setups, merch, website, just little things here and there, label packaging. So keeping them as involved as part of it also makes it, it's
softest t-shirts in the bourbon industry right there. Penelope Bourbon. Softest t-shirts in the industry.
That's right, man. Hey, my theory with merch is like, it's going to be expensive no matter what. So as long as I can wear it, I'm good with it. That's the key. You got to get good merch. You have to.
I love it. I mean, I really appreciate the Penelope shirt, and I think I wear it once a week.
I'm wearing one right now. I mean, this is an old one, but yeah, dude, it's just like, gotta have soft t-shirts, man.
Oh, I'm with it.
If they're going to scratch my chest, I can't wear them.
Exactly.
If they're going to scratch my chest, that means they're going to scratch someone else's chest.
And that means they're not going to want to wear it.
You use those.
Yeah.
Oh, Tito's uses those. I've seen them. They do. I know they do.
Oh,
they're scratchers. Those are Tito's t-shirts are scratchers.
Oof. And that's why we don't drink vodka on the Bourbon Lens.
They use scratchy shirts, man. You got to use what we use. The tri-blend next level.
Oh yeah. Hey, I'm right there with you. I once purchased 500 t-shirts and I once still have about 10 left.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, but they're all like really odd sizes, like 4X, like, cause there's bigger people in the world. And then I got extra smalls because, there's little people in the world, and I don't run into either of those people very often, unfortunately.
Your shirts are really soft though too, man.
I tried to make sure.
They're right up there. They're right up there. They're very soft.
Like you said, you got to be able to wear it. And I have like 10 Bourbon Lens shirts that go through,
you just rip through them.
Rotation.
I love your shirts.
Yeah.
Very soft. They're on a scale of 1 to 10, those are hitting the 10 soft scale. So it's very good.
That means you can lounge in it. You can go to the beach in it. You can do all your off hours things in a Bourbon Lens t-shirt.
Oh, man. While still being on brand.
Exactly. And there's nothing better than being on brand. So I know you have a busy day, and I know you actually we're wrapping at the end of this top of this hour. So I'm going to ask you my last question. We ask everybody on the podcast.
Yeah.
What's your one piece of advice for people to find moments where they're not connected?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I've actually gotten really good at it recently. I just shut everything down. I mean, I'm talking, I don't get any notifications. It's, literally sometimes I'll have do not disturb up for a full day. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, there's times you just got to hunker in, and the phone can be such a distraction.
Yeah.
That it's just, all I know is you'll get back to people, you can get back to folks, people leave messages and things like that, but you have to disconnect. So whether it's from a disconnect, like just mental kind of well-being, or you're going away on vacation. I usually, depending on the circumstances, I'd say like 50% of the time I'll totally disconnect.
Yeah.
You have to recharge your batteries. You have to recharge, or else you're going to just, you could be young and fit and hungry and ready to go. But after years of grinding, working late, going at it, battling ups and downs, ebbs and flows, I mean, you get tired. And it just, you have to learn how to do these like little recharges.
Yeah.
And we do that the weekends for us. I mean, it's rare I'll take a call on the weekends.
Yeah.
Rare. It's super rare, because it's like, you disconnect from work, like literally come Friday afternoon, you kind of disconnect for at least those 2.5 days.
Yeah.
One day, then you're back at it. And those 2.5 days of just off the grid, I mean, do help quite a bit.
No, so I think that's really good. So, to paraphrase that, find sacred time, right? Like if that weekend is your sacred time, use it. If it's, me and my wife, we try to do like the hour and a half after we put our son to bed, like 8:30 to 10, like that's our time. Right. And then just make it sacred, like, because I do feel so much better when it's just like nothing, no distractions in it. And it's that. So I 100% agree with you on that one.
Meditate.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too fidgety for it, but I've heard that will help. But for me, it's more of just the disconnection, like the feeling that I don't need to get back to someone till next week.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
My wife appreciates it.
Yes, I'm sure, because then you're playing man to man versus her playing 2-on-1.
Yeah, this crazy zone scenario. It's tough. It's very tough.
Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for joining this episode of Off Hours with the Bourbon Lens. You can find out more about Penelope Bourbon on all their social medias. Penelope Bourbon. It's really simple, super easy. They've got a lot of cool things in market right now. If you're looking for something new, look for the blue label, The Architect. It's out and about, in multiple states. So check that out. To find out more about Bourbon Lens, go over to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Bourbon Lens. Pretty simple. And thanks again for our sponsor, Off Hours, for sponsoring this episode, so we can find the moments in between with all of these sweet brands that we're getting to talk to over the last couple weeks. And until next time, cheers.
Thanks, buddy.